resolution, of course, the second one on the pandemic, not legally binding, but still reflecting world opinion. What do member nations want to do in order to fight this pandemic?
I think, thank you very much for having me. I think what's important is really to continue to find means of cooperating as nations and as other entities to deal with the pandemic in a coordinated way, and one, to send the message that this is a global problem, and an approach that brings all of us on board, I think, is the one to work for. Certain countries have also worked hard to guarantee support, but certainly for the United Nations, the first resolution is to remind us about our connected world and the necessity to work together. This other one is dealing in particular with the issue of medicine and vaccines in particular. Again, it has been well received, and it is the way we want to proceed. So this is really the reason why the United Nations, the Secretary General, has done a lot in trying to remind us about our connectedness in terms of financing issues, in terms of many other things, including ceasefire. This one is specific to vaccines. Yes.
President Trump, though, suspending funding to the WHO, and then at the same time not really blocking this resolution that asks the UN to work with the WHO. What's your take on this?
I think the issue that we as an assembly are looking at any means in which countries cooperate, and any effort to ask and to allow to cooperate and to also join in that cooperation is important. And whatever effort that will continue to ask that be done. And I think we are focused as an assembly in working with everyone. And I think that is our approach. I think we are glad that we have gotten this level of support, but we also would like countries and companies and other entities to work with all of us in getting to the end of this as quickly as possible.
Obviously, it will be seen as a good sign that this resolution exists, but the level of global cooperation was in question before. Some have questioned whether we have the right cooperative spirit now. Do you think that there is enough cohesive action going on in the world today? We are seeing governments look inward now.
I think regardless of occasional discomfiture over certain statements made here and there out of whatever reason, I think everyone appreciates that there is really no national solution to this problem. That's why it's defined as a pandemic. And there have been models of cooperation in the past, and they will help us greatly. It will help greatly that we continue to look at the models and refine them, especially in that never in history have we been so interconnected, and the ability to travel, the ability to do things together, and so ultimately, it is just a reminder that we just have to work together, and I think this is really the object.
We do have these reports, sir, that Kim Jong-un might be in grave condition. There are issues around, of course, succession there. Has your body considered that, and is there a thought or a plan in place about if that's the case?
No, I think that is for us not really an issue we comment on. I think we wait. Whatever it is, countries will decide how they. If it is the case, we will just have to listen to what countries are doing. I think as the United Nations, member states will decide internally how they decide their transition if one is needed. But for now, we just hope, whatever the case, we continue to work for peace, not only in the peninsula but around the world. This is really key, especially in a period of this kind of pandemic. I think we do need the most peace we can garner, and that is where we stand.
Right, the UN also calling for $2.5 trillion in order to fight the pandemic in emerging economies that are facing a financing gap. We are already seeing this crash in oil prices. And of course, we know that many of those developing economies rely greatly on oil production or other commodities. How big could the hit be given the ongoing pandemic and now the oil crash?
I think the reality of the connections are what is hitting us in relation to the pandemic. I mean, this is happening not in isolation. It is happening because of the pandemic. And I think the faster we're able to deal with the pandemic, the better for all of us, not only in terms of the pricing of oil, but of other goods as well. And I think this is why the urgency, whatever funds are available to help support return to some normalcy, whatever that normalcy will be, as quickly as possible, a return to that normalcy is useful. And if people are not buying certain products because there is hardly any travel going on, transportation is an issue. And I think this is the issue. Every facet of life has been transformed by the pandemic, and what we want to do is to use whatever means are available to us to push for cooperation, to push for creativity, to get us turn the corner. And I think this is the issue. Oil price collapse has been a big issue for many countries. It's a big issue also in relation to production, in relation to the virus. And that is the issue. We do hope, of course, that the measures that have been undertaken succeed. But you are right. The challenge of having the gap had been there before the crisis. It has become even more urgent that we quickly turn the corner to come back to a position to reduce the gap and to have better means of filling the gap in financing. It has been a big issue in the United Nations, especially in the 2030 agenda. It's really challenged, and I think that framework of cooperation is extremely important. That 2030 agenda plus the Paris Accord are really key to the effort of the global community to stability and sustainability. And we are focused on these ones.